And it's time for another 13 o'clock movie retrospective, another in our H.P. Lovecraft series.
Yeah, this one's called Beyond Re-Animator.
Our accidental Lovecraftian series, I should say. I think we mentioned this before, but these just kind of all, we watched all these movies like within a, short time within each other. So, we kind of ended up doing a bunch of them. But this one is actually on Tubi also, which is how we ended up seeing it.
You can watch it for free. At least it was last time we checked. It's probably still there.
The thing about Beyond Re-Animator, it's like, look, everyone that's into horror, particularly horror comedy, has seen the original Re-Animator from the 80s. And, it's a cult classic. Bride of Re-Animator, which came out in 1990, that one has like a little bit more of a mixed reviews.
Right.
Some people really loved it. Some people really hated it. So it's kind of...
I don't remember it.
I haven't seen it since probably 1991 or 92, so I'm not going to comment too much on that.
We'll revisit it and we'll tell you what we think about that one.
Because I haven't seen it. But actually, I didn't know until very recently that there is a third movie in the series, and that is Beyond Re-Animator.
Yeah, I had seen this one. I liked it even when I saw it. I saw it when it came out.
Yeah.
I liked it, yeah.
This actually didn't come out until 2003.
Yeah.
And it's in the timeline, so it does actually occur 13 years after the events of Bride of Re-Animator. And this was actually done by Brian Yuzna, or however you pronounce his last name. I can't remember. This is his Fantastic Factory production company based in Spain. Same people that did Dagon.
And the originals, the earlier
and he's the same guy that directed Bride of Re-Animator, and he also produced the original Re-Animator, which of course was directed by Stuart Gordon.
Yeah, now Re-Animator is not really a Lovecraft tale. It was inspired by a Lovecraft tale.
Yeah, it's loosely based upon.
Very loosely based on it. So some like real hardcore Lovecraft fans might say, Re-Animator is not a Lovecraft movie. Re-Animator and the Re-Animator series is more like a Jeffrey Combs movie.
Yeah.
And I would say yes, it is. They're Jeffrey Combs movies, but there is enough H.P. Lovecraft style influence in them to where they are part of the genre, if you ask me.
Yeah.
It's in the Lovecraft genre.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's Lovecraft taken to like a horror comedy. It's Lovecraft filtered through Evil Dead type of just like, splat stick, as they call it, just really, really gory, over the top kind of thing. And it's funny because I was watching some making of features about this, and Brian Yuzna was saying that even from the moment that Jeffrey Combs walked into audition for Dr. Herbert West for the first Re-Animator, they're like, both him and Stuart Gordon were like, that's him.
Yeah, well, he's just a weird, wiry, jittery little sucker, you know what I mean?
They knew he was... And
crazy.
Now that I think about it, it's like, can you imagine anyone else playing that role? You can't.
Right.
I mean, he's just the embodiment of that character.
Yeah, I wish he was in Dagon. It would have been really cool.
Yeah, that would actually would have been really good. I mean, as much as I like Dagon, that would have... I mean, Jeffrey Combs' presence just elevates anything. I don't care what it is. Yeah. You can put him in any movie and it will make it better.
Combs knocked it out of the park with The Frighteners, too. I really liked him
good at that.
As the FBI agent.
He was like so creepy. Nobody plays creepy and weird like Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah, and he was good on Star Trek and Deep Space Nine. And Star Trek Enterprise.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah,
he needs to be in more movies.
Yeah, he's cool.
I mean, he's been in a lot. And the thing that's cool about Jeffrey Combs is that he doesn't seem like, and I don't know him personally, but he seems to take the horror genre very seriously.
Yeah.
Because that some actors, particularly ones that were in sort of iconic horror movies in the 70s and 80s, later on were like, well, they wanted to go on to more serious, quote unquote, movie roles. And they, because I think horror still had kind of a, it was sort of a ghettoized sort of thing where it wasn't as good. And that was just like a stepping stone. So I always admire horror actors that are willing to be in horror movies and really like the genre and don't see it as just like, oh, well, I couldn't get in real movies, quote unquote, so I'll just be in these horror movies.
You should have seen the work that Combs did on Star Trek Enterprise. He played Shran, Commander Shran, who was like an Andorian military officer.
I had forgotten all about that.
And man, he was spot on. As an ex-military guy, he was spot on for a hardcore military officer. He was kind of like an alien version of Patton.
Yeah.
I loved his work. He
played Edgar Allan Poe, too, as well, didn't he?
I loved his work as Shran. He was really good.
All right, so Beyond Re-Animator, and here's the thing, and here's one thing that I saw some little horror nerds were getting all upset about. they said, well, there shouldn't have been a third one because Herbert West supposedly died at the end of Bride of Re-Animator. I was like, yeah, well, he supposedly died at the end of the first one, too. Yeah. And yet they made Bride of Re-Animator. Yeah. You guys weren't bitching about that. So, I'm not going to get to... it's a horror comedy. I'm not going to get to...
In this genre, you can do whatever you want.
Pretty much. And especially a franchise that is so invested in this sort of over-the-top, like, comedic. It's not, it's not supposed to be realistic or anything like that. So... I'm not going to get to...
We saw this free on Tubi, but there's a bunch of different special editions of this. And I eventually want to get this on Blu-ray.
Actually, there's a really nice, and I just saw it. I was looking, somebody was reviewing the whole box set. There's a whole Fantastic Factory box set, from Brian Yesna's production company that has this movie, and it has a bunch of other ones that he made into, like Arachnid and some other ones.
Does it have Dagon in it?
Does it? It might.
Because I got to get that on Blu-ray.
But I really liked the artwork for it was really good. Like all the cover art was really nice, and it looked like there was a really lot of extras on it.
Because there's a special release Dagon Blu-ray. It's coming out the end of this month, isn't it? I think it's the 24th.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think it's a steelbook edition. I gotta get it. It looks
you really good. We really do need to get that because it was a good movie. Yeah. Now, this one, Beyond Re-Animator, like I said, I kind of went back and forth and I was looking at other people's reviews because I was kind of curious. This one seems to fall, mostly mixed reviews. There were a lot of really positive ones, a few like kind of negative ones. Some people liked it better than Bride of Re-Animator. Some people thought it was worse than Bride of Re-Animator. Right. I mean, you have to go into it. It's like, obviously, it's never going to live up to the original. I mean, because that's a classic.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I liked this one. Like I said, I haven't seen Bride of Re-Animator in a long time. I remember liking this one more.
Yeah.
Now, this one to me seemed more like a black comedy.
Yeah.
It didn't have a lot of serious stuff in it.
All of them were kind of like that in a way.
Right, but I felt like this one was more in that direction.
I liked the setting. It's happening in prison.
Yeah, it's a prison.
That was pretty cool. Lots of practical effects.
Yeah.
So it kind of has an old school feeling in the execution, but the quality's higher than the first Re-Animator, I thought, in terms of special effects.
Well, they obviously spent a lot more money on it.
I think all three of the movies, like I said, I haven't seen the second one. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I have seen it, but I haven't seen it recently.
I've seen it. It was probably like 20 years ago.
The two that I can remember, the first one and this one, I put them, in the same playing field.
Yeah.
I like them both.
Yeah.
They're each one of them is their own movie. They're definitely part of that same genre. You know what I mean? I can tell that this is the same team working on it. In my mind, if you like the first one, you'd like this one too.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, fans are really hard to please.
Yeah.
Especially hardcore fans. They start nerding out and geeking out like crazy, and they're constantly going to say, hey, it doesn't live up to the original. I mean, that's just with all movies. Terminator 1 is like that.
Yeah, you're always going to get that.
It's hard to live up to Terminator 1, even though that was a cheap, low-budget flick. But there was just something about the magic of when you're seeing it. You know, I think there's also nostalgia. You're young when you see it. It's new. It makes an impression on you.
It's hard to kind of separate that
You have high expectations. Right. The next one comes, and it doesn't quite meet up with your unrealistically high expectations. I always like to let these movies age and go back and look at them.
Because sometimes when you see them much later on, you can kind of appreciate them
more. The pressure's off,
Right.
Like, for instance, I like some Schwarzenegger movies. I don't like them all, but I like about half of them. Sixth Day, which came out, I think it was 2003, universally panned. I went back and saw it recently, man. I loved it. I really loved it. And then I'm reading other reviews, and people said the same thing. I saw this when it came out and hated it, but looking at it now, man, this is a great movie.
Yeah.
And it's because the pressure is off.
Yeah.
When something's new, you're scrutinizing it too much.
That's why it's good to, like, revisit things, I think, a long time. Even if you didn't like it at the time.
Yeah.
If it was something you felt like you should have liked, give it 10 years and then watch
Go back
it again.
And look at it
and
again,
see how it is.
Yeah.
But the thing about Beyond Re-Animator that I like, it's actually, some people are calling it, it's almost kind of like a remake of the first one. The structure of the story is very similar, even though the setting is different. So Dr. Herbert West, apparently in 1990, which is there's like a little cold open at the beginning, where he gets arrested because of this whole thing where one of his zombies escapes and it kills this girl, and this little boy like sees the girl's little brother sees it happen and sees Dr. West getting taken away and finds some of the reagent. So then you cut ahead to 2003 and Dr. West is in prison and has been there for 13 years. And he's still working on his experiments, but obviously he's in prison, so he can't get a lot of stuff.
He's working in the prison hospital.
Yeah, in the infirmary or whatever.
Right.
So he's kind of just experimenting on rats and stuff like that. But one thing that's cool about this, because what they did in the original Re-Animator, obviously he figures out how to bring people back from the dead, and it's
with the reagent.
With the reagent.
But when they come back, they're not quite right.
Right. Now, in the second one, Bride of Re-Animator, he figures out how to do like just body parts, and then he's going to put together a body like Dr. Frankenstein or whatever. Now, in this one, I liked that they took it another step further because Dr. West has discovered this little thing. Essentially, it's a soul, but it's like a scientific electrical kind of. It's called nanoplasmic energy.
Yeah, it's like bioelectricity,
right?
Or spiritual.
And you can take it from a person, and then if you put it back in them after they die, or you can transplant it from one to another, then they'll come back as a zombie, but they'll be normal in theory.
Yeah. Supposed to be kind of like soul energy. That's a good way of looking at it.
So I like that they kind of upped the stakes. So it's like now they're not just bringing people back and they're crazy zombies.
They're trying to restore,
like I said, in theory, they're trying to restore people to the way they were before they died, like by implanting this quote-unquote soul. Yeah. So he's discovered that in the interim. Now, then you get this new little, kind of wide-eyed prison doctor that shows up and
who knows who he is.
Who knows who he is. Now, the prison is supposed to be in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
But obviously this was filmed in Spain. Almost all the actors are Spanish, so most of them have been dubbed. I'm not sure because
I didn't even notice that though.
Because I know some people don't like that, and that was something that some of the reviews pointed out. They said, "Oh, the dubbing's bad," or
I didn't even notice that it was dubbed.
I did, but it wasn't distracting. Because I did know that it was shot in Spain, so I knew that most of the actors had thick Spanish accents, so they did dub everyone over.
Whenever I'm seeing a movie like this, I just roll with it. I'm not.
I do too. Yeah.
I'm not scrutinizing it.
I do too.
Do you really scrutinize?
No.
Evil Dead? I don't scrutinize Evil Dead.
Well, like I said, I'm kind of like, unless a movie is really boring or if it's like aggressively stupid or insulting or something like that.
Or the quality's just bad.
Or the quality's bad. I'm very willing to sit there and go, okay, take me somewhere.
Right.
And even if I don't like it at the end, I'd be like, okay, well, I can respect what they were trying to do. I'm not one of those people that just thinks every movie is good. Obviously, there are a lot of shitty movies out there. Yeah. But I'm willing to sit back and kind of put my expectations on hold to see what this person wants to show me. The movie makers.
I thought the quality of the movie was really good. I mean, it had a lot of old school effects.
Yeah.
The writing was good. The editing and the pacing was awesome. Execution, I thought, was really good. And I was just having fun. I was just rolling with it. I wasn't, scrutinizing it like that.
Yeah, I wasn't really.
I didn't even notice that it was dubbed.
Like I said, I did notice it, but it wasn't something that was super distracting. Because like I said, I mean, coming from someone who I'm a big fan of Italian movies, particularly giallo movies, and pretty much all of those are dubbed. So it's kind of, they dubbed everyone into English because everyone spoke different languages. Yeah. So it's not something that is, that's really noticeable for me because I've seen so many movies that were like that.
Yeah. For me, the energy of the movie was good. So I was just rolling with it.
So this was actually, it was filmed in, I guess, at least the exteriors were filmed in a real prison in Valencia, Spain. And like I said, all the actors are Spanish, but except for, a few. But so, this little doctor comes and it turns out he's the grown-up brother of this sister, that got killed by one of West's zombies back in 1990. And he has become so fascinated by West's work that he's like, I specifically requested to come to this prison so I could work with you. And now they're like trying to do, they're trying to put together. So he has like a guy on the outside who can bring him supplies and stuff like that so he can continue his work inside the prison. Now, the best part about this, I mean, there's like all the characters are kind of over the top a little bit, like especially the warden who's like this uber fascist, who gets off on like electrocuting prisoners and all this other kind of stuff. And, kind of wants to be able to sustain their torture like after they die and shit like that. Yeah. So he's kind of like one of the main bad guys.
They're really sadistic.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then there's like, there's kind of a lot of characters like among the other prisoners and stuff like that. But the best thing about this movie is like the last third. like after the whole prison riot takes place and everything like that. I mean, if you like the Re-Animator series, you know that one of the hallmarks of it is just this crazy, like over the top gore and like all these like crazy set pieces and stuff like that. And this really does not disappoint in that department.
No, it delivered. Yeah.
I really, really was very wildly entertained by a lot of the...
If you've never seen a Re-Animator movie, I would probably say that it's very similar to a Evil Dead movie.
Yeah, it's a similar kind of vibe.
Right, but it's creepy. Creepy stuff happens. Maybe they'd be scary if you're a kid, but for the most part, they're just kind of entertaining. It's a lot of cartoon gore. You're not really taking it too seriously. You're just having fun with it, and you're waiting to see which direction they're going to go.
Yeah,
in some kind of crazy story.
That's what I mean. It's
That's quite cool,
and it really does have a lot of I mean, just from the opening shots of that zombie coming in and drinking the milk with no jaw, like he kind of looked like the zombie from Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead or whatever. You know, there one prisoner, he's like just a torso with hands and he's like running around the prison. And
and then another thing that's weird, we're talking about this bioplasmic soul energy that they have. I mean, there's a lot of mix-ups that happen with this, like the bioenergy of a rat accidentally gets injected into a human.
Well, not accidentally.
Well, it was kind of...
Dr. West did it on purpose.
It was on purpose. It was on purpose, but... and then what happens to a human when they have the soul of a rat? That's...
Because one of the coolest things, and like I said, I think this is why Jeffrey Combs just makes this whole series, is because, you can argue, obviously he's a mad scientist, obviously he's crazy, but the way that, I mean, he just keeps his cool pretty much, and he's very detached, which I think is what makes all of the over-the-top gore and stuff like that, that's what works, like that juxtaposition. So his whole theory is that, I got this little soul and you keep it in this little light bulb or whatever. It's like a little electrical spark. Yeah. And he's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. Like, you can transfer it from a rat to a human. You can transfer it from a human to a human. It's like, it's a neutral energy. Right. So it shouldn't matter in theory.
Right.
But obviously, since this is a Re-Animator movie, that it's not going to go the way he says it's going to go. But I like the way he's very detached. He's like, oh, well, it shouldn't matter. I can put a rat thing in a person and it won't make any difference because the life spark is a life spark. But like I said, that's not how it works out. And there's also, like I said, just the gore in this is so funny. Like the gags are so funny. You get to see what happens when a living person injects the reagent. People explode. People's faces get peeled off. A reanimated rat fights a reanimated particular body part.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Matter of fact, I don't know if our friend Shauna has seen this, but she would love this movie.
Yeah.
She would love this movie.
This is definitely one to see. It's super, super fun. It's just like one of those crazy, gory, popcorn type of movies.
Yeah.
And here's the interesting thing. Now, ever since back in, I guess, 2006 or something like that, because I'm going to say the end of this movie kind of seems like it could be setting up a sequel, right?
Yeah.
Well, evidently, ever since 2006, they've been throwing around the idea of doing a fourth movie in the series.
That's right, because...
called House of Re-Animator is usually what it's called.
Because, spoiler alert, now that I remember it, Herbert West escaped prison.
He escapes at the end.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. He gets out, like during the riot and all the crazy shit that happens.
That'd be awesome to see him again.
So it really did seem like they were setting it up for another movie.
Right.
But I don't know if it's ever going to get made. Now, I've heard that Stuart Gordon wanted to come back and do it.
Yeah.
That Jeffrey Combs wanted to do it.
Things have changed so much.
Right.
They could raise the money so easily for this.
That's what I'm saying. And actually, one of the other reviews that I read said that. It's like, why don't they start a Kickstarter? I mean, Re-Animator has so many fans.
Look what happened with MST.
Right,
MST
they made like $7 million or something like that, like to bring the show back.
Right.
And I kind of feel like they could probably do that.
It was a good company, and Kickstarter could probably really help them out. I mean, I'm sure I know they have enough fan base to get together special release Blu-rays.
Yeah.
And you would think, but just with proper marketing, they could really unify their product, repackage it, get some Kickstarter support, start pumping out movies.
Because
I like the movies.
I would definitely see another one, especially if Stuart Gordon got back involved. And obviously Jeffrey Combs has to be involved, otherwise it's not a Re-Animator movie.
I'd buy every Blu-ray they'd made from that company.
Yeah.
So far, I've been happy with everything that those guys have made. Yeah.
And, so hopefully, like I said, but it's been more than 10 years since they first started kicking that idea around, and they haven't done it so far. There was actually, from what I heard, the fourth one that was actually going to be the start of like another trilogy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but the first one is really the only one I've ever seen. I saw like kind of a random plot synopsis of it, and it sounded kind of cool. It sounded like a good idea. So I don't know. I don't know if that will ever get made.
And I'd love to see Combs back.
Like I said, I like him in anything. Yeah. He's just like the best. Anytime you need like a weird, twitchy, creepy,
jittery little sucker.
And the thing is, and if any of you have met him in real life, I'd really like to know, because he seems like he'd be a really nice dude. I bet he's not even like weird at all. Like if you meet him, I don't know though.
I've seen little clips of him just talking and responding to questions. He just seems like a normal guy.
That's what I mean.
Kind of funny.
Yeah, like I've seen like interviews when I was watching like the making of the various films, and there's interviews with him, and he does seem very normal, just kind of like a funny
guy
kind of dude. But yeah,
you know, there's another company that we're gonna introduce people to also. Remember, there's a little company making like vintage, authentic Lovecraftian stories.
Oh yeah.
We have to get their Blu-rays.
The H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society.
Yeah, and they're done in the context of the time of H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
So one of them is a silent movie, and the other one is a talkie, and they look very vintage. They're little fan films, and they're, from the one that we saw, very high quality.
Yeah, we saw Call of Cthulhu, which was a silent film. And they did it just like an old school silent film, as if it was made at the time, and it looked fantastic.
It looks like the original King Kong with the claymation stop motion and stuff. Yeah, it was quite cool.
So they made another one. They made Whisper in the Dark, and we have to see that. What we're gonna do is gonna order both of those Blu-rays, and then we'll probably just do both of those movies like on one episode.
Right.
That's going to be a while though, but
we'll plug them because for the product that I saw looked pretty cool, but they're let's say they want premium prices.
Well, like I said, it's a small company, they
one-off type stuff. The cool clothes. Then they had some posters, and I think there was some shirts.
Yeah, they had like
merch.
Yes, they had some other really cool merch, and they're kind of, and I think they kind of promote other studios' work too. Like they kind of sell that through their website. So yeah, that's definitely something we're going to be doing way down the line. I remember, like I said, we saw Call of Cthulhu. I think we paid to see that on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then, but
it's not there anymore.
No, it's not. And I actually really like to own it. And then we got to get Whisper in the Dark too, because that looks really cool. I saw the trailers.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely be doing more Lovecraft in the future. Although after this, we'll probably go off and do like a few other type of movies before we get back to the Lovecraft stuff. But we hope you guys have enjoyed this review of Beyond Re-Animator. Like I said,
it's up there on Tubi. Go ahead and watch it.
It's up there on Tubi. If you like the original Re-Animator, you'll probably like this one too. It's in the same spirit. Even though it's got mixed reviews all over the place, but most people
don't listen to those fans.
Most people gave it a pretty positive review. So if you're into horror comedies or into the Re-Animator series, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't like it, and it's free to watch on Tubi. So go and check it out and tell us what you thought down in the comments. And remember, if you like our show, to like, share, subscribe, and tell all your friends about us. And be sure to tune into our regular episodes, which come out every Tuesday, and our movie reviews, which come out every Friday. If you'd like to financially support the show, we have a Patreon page at patreon.com/13o'clockpodcast, and also a blog at 13o'clockpodcast.wordpress.com. And there's a link in the sidebar to a PayPal account if you'd like to give a one-time donation. So until next time, we will see you then. Bye.